Hola mi gente, this is Julio. It's been a while. I used to call these daily chats, but after the campaign and so many things have changed and we're doing so many things that it's become way different from a daily chat. But because we made so many good friends and we made so many good acquaintances, because I always said throughout the campaign that it's not about winning or losing the position, it's about winning and maintaining lifetime relationships. Because you learn about people, you learn who were your real friends, who were not your real friends. You meet some new friends who were like they were family. You meet business acquaintances, you make cultural contacts, connections. I mean, there's so much that can be learned from a campaign, not just about winning or losing. And that's another revolutionary thing that we were trying to introduce when we ran. But anyway, that's over. The reason I'm doing this today is because I haven't spoken to people in a while, and there's been a lot of people who've been asking me, "Yo, Julio, what's up? What are you doing? How come you don't have your chat? Or why don't you? What's going on?" And people like to know my interpretations of things, whether there's something that's happening in my block where I'm president of the homeowners association of, these buildings that are almost all over 100 years old. My house, 158 years old. So there's a lot of things I like to preserve in history about us as people living in the Bronx and also as Puerto Ricans. So today I took out time because I'm very busy. I'm trying to do things that I've neglected for a while, like in this house, so I can honor this lady, which was the lady that used to live here and sit on something like this here. And when I was a kid, I used to walk from Cornwall Avenue down that way, and I used to go to Harlem this way, because there's a bridge over there that will put you on 145th Street and Manhattan, Harlem. So I used to walk to the Liberation Bookstore, the only bookstore that was around. Still, ironically, in the Bronx, we don't have that many bookstores. We have a place in the South Bronx, but that's a different story. Anyway, I used to walk through it, and I used to see this lady sitting here, and this whole area was all Italian, or the Anglo, one or two blacks, that's it. And this is the only place that I saw homes. So I used to like to walk through here. And every time I walked through here, I saw this lady sitting here, always had a hat on. And I used to, acknowledge her. She used to acknowledge me, and I used to continue walking. And I freaked out. Well, as history has it, decades later, I wound up buying the house of this lady that used to sit here. And I find out that she wasn't Italian. Era blanquita, but she was Puerto Rican. and her husband was Spaniard, and he did a lot of the work in this house. And then she passed away at the age of 107. And that's how I was able to get the house afterwards. That's another story. Business development. How to get a house without having money. Anyway, the bottom line is that I've always respected the fact there's an incredible tree in the back that she planted from an acorn. And a pine cone, and it's now one of the tallest trees in the South Bronx. I think I've shown it off many times, and it has this incredible energy. People from all over the world come here and they talk about that tree. Anyway, the bottom line is that all of this is happening, and then my daughter is emptying out her garage in Massachusetts, and she tells me, "Bobby, you might want to have this." No, she didn't look this pretty, but I live with an incredible woman, my wife Blanca, who's an artist, who's a meticulous person for detail, and she took that and painted and made her as beautiful as she was before. So all this to tell you that I'm taking a break from this house that I neglected a lot of work on, because people have been asking me to say something about what's going on. What's my opinion? So real quickly, and I'll get into details later. But right now there is a movement. You should know about it, whether it's planned, not planned. It's happening, and it's basically about diminishing the amount of political, economic, and cultural power that Puerto Ricans have had in New York City. And I know some of us have been critical of the fact, like the Puerto Rican Legal Defense Fund, years ago changing their name to Latino Defense Fund. Everything seems to be moving towards, us disassociating ourselves from who we are, particularly, and associating ourselves, which is correctly so, with the greater majority of other Latinos. However, my criticism has been, in the process of doing that, we can't forget who we are. I love what Tato wrote down a while back, and I liked it. He says, I'm not Latinx, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not Latino, yo soy Boricua. And from that premise, I can continue to grow and build and work with everybody. So on that, I just want to let you guys know that I'm still working on a lot of stuff, and I'll be talking about that more in detail later. But right now, I just wanted to remind folks about this election and the election in Puerto Rico, that everybody's all like, I know you got to be all stressed out, because once in a while I too want to go to see where the count is and where the delegates are and all that stuff. And I think another young person who's very wise, el hijo de mi compadre, Herrera, he basically said, Diego put something up on the internet recently, very wise, and congratulations, Diego. I think I told you that on the Facebook, which is that instead of thinking and spending so much time about this BS or this whole election, which I know is very important to a lot of people, and we all know what we want to happen. We need to get this idiot out of the White House, and all the details that went into that. But tuning into it all the time and trying to FaceTime and find out what's going on and staying, on that. Look, it's very simple. The bottom line is, no matter what Trump does, the bottom line is that there's been laws established that those absentee ballots had to be counted. And at the beginning, the majority of the people who went to vote in the majority of the states were Republican. So of course it showed red. And then of course, as those ballots are beginning to be counted, because something happened that never happened before, the number of people that actually voted, 1.something million voted ahead of time. Well, that's a lot of damn paperwork. They can't do that shit in one day. So it's going to take a while. So of course you're going to have Trump trying to do whatever he can to hold that back if it doesn't benefit him, and hold it and push it forward like in Arizona where it does benefit him. The bottom line is, we don't have to stress that. We really don't, because we know what the rule is. Let them get caught up in all that shit. You take the time, like I'm doing, to do some work in my office downstairs, clean up a little bit, set myself up, and prepare myself. Let's prepare ourselves to reinvent ourselves in ways that we haven't done before for whatever comes. Whether it's the person we want, Biden. I didn't vote for him in New York, by the way. I voted for Bernie, but he didn't need my vote in New York. But if I would have been living in a swing state, I would have voted for him. And other campaigns, like for example, Carmen Arroyo, I campaigned for her, and people say, oh my God, how can you campaign for Carmen Arroyo? I said, it was a long story, and if you have the time to read, you can check out her history and tell me if you do not agree with some of the things. And on top of that, she also was the only one of all the Puerto Rican elected officials, all of them, that stood by us, Respect and Justice for Puerto Rico, and sponsored our forum in Somos. When I had to ask Crespo, I had to ask the rest help. And everybody said yes, but nobody stepped forward the way she did. And for that, I'm loyal. And about Septima winning, the way she won, bottom line is, hey, she's the new assemblywoman, so we got to support her, And I just wish that Carmen would have waited and done it in the right way to exit gracefully, because the way she came in was historic. It was historic for a Latina woman. It was historic for women. It was especially historic for Puerto Rican women. She was the first Puerto Rican elected official at the state level in the United States, the first Puerto Rican. And she's done some stuff. So that's another story. Anyway, that's out. And my person that we supported in Puerto Rico, Rosana, for the same reason, because not knowing this woman, she's a senator in Puerto Rico, and we hooked up on the issue of the Jones Act. She's an expert on it. She came to New York. We brought her to New York. We did some stuff with her in Orlando. We did some stuff with the historic meeting that we had to bring up the issue of the Jones Act in Jacksonville, Florida, where all the ships have to dock and be able to unload and load stuff to go to Puerto Rico, which is why it's so expensive for us. So anyway, those movements are continuing. I just wanted to remind people, don't stress out on the situation, what's going on right now. Take the time, like we did during the pandemic, it took us a while. Take the time now to just reflect on you and begin to reinvent yourself for what's going to happen. Because no matter who wins, we still are not respected, and we got to move forward. So on that, we'll talk later. But I just had to say this because I know a lot of my people were calling me and saying, yo, what's going on? I apologize, because I know we made a lot of good contacts. And like I said, it wasn't about winning or losing. It was about raising consciousness, bringing up issues that others could not or would not make. And the bottom line is moving forward and learning and making those relationships that will last forever, like the one we've made. The ones that do listen to what I am saying, the ones that do call and want to know what I'm thinking, and the ones that I want to learn what they're thinking, that group. So God bless, and that group is growing here and in Puerto Rico. And congratulations, ciudadana, in Puerto Rico, that new party with that young man, Natal, which Paco and I had met in Puerto Rico. He was one of the ones that we met with all the union leaders, to ask them if I was to run for Congress, what would be some of the things that they would want me to promote. And he gave us some good pointers that if I would have won, I definitely would promote. But not winning that campaign, I did one in others within our campaign about the relationship we've established, like the example with him and others, is that we will help promote that with people like Richie and people like Jamal, that though we didn't do too much for Jamal, or I ran personally against Richie, it wasn't something that, we can't communicate. We can communicate with everybody who believes in what we believe in terms of making a change. We don't have to agree on everything, We don't have to agree on, in fact, 90% of things. But if we agree on 10% on things, and we just unite on those things that we agree, whoa, Judíos, watch out, because Boricuas will be like right there in terms of political power here in this country in Puerto Rico. God bless you guys all. We'll be in touch soon. Ciao.